I want you to lean in for a moment because what I'm about to share with you isn't about monsters hiding in the shadows. It's about people you already know. People you see every day, maybe even the ones you let sit at your table. And I'm not here to point fingers, I'm here to shine a light. Because when we see clearly, we choose wisely. Now, narcissists, they have this private playground, and most folks never see it. It's not all screaming or slamming doors. No, no, no. It's subtle. It's silent. It's strategic. Let me take you inside their world. Hobby Fae 1, collecting compliments like currency. They don't just like compliments, they live on them. Like a plant that needs sunlight, they'll position themselves where they can soak in every, wow, you're amazing. But here's the twist. If the compliments stop, their energy drains fast, and they'll find a way to get that fix again. Hobby A2, turning conversations into a mirror. You share your dream, they'll make it about their dream. You share your struggle, they'll tell you how they had it worse. It's not always cruel, but it's calculated. A way to keep the spotlight fixed right on them. Hobby Henny 3, subtle competitions you didn't know you entered. You say you went on vacation, they suddenly talk about their better trip. You mention a new skill. They just happened to master it years ago. It's like playing a game you never agreed to play, and they're keeping score. Hobby Fae 4, feeding on micro reactions, not the big applause. The tiny flicker in your eye, the quick nod, the slight hesitation. They read those moments like a book, and they'll use them to steer your emotions without you even noticing. Hobby Fae 5, crafting the perfect public image. Behind closed doors, they might be cold. But in public, they're the saint, the hero, the life of the party. Every handshake, every laugh, every generous act, calculated like a chess move. Hobby Fae 6, rewriting history, yesterday's fight. In their version, it never happened the way you remember. They'll twist the story, erase your parts, and plant seeds that make you question your memory. Hobby Fae 7, surrounding themselves with admirers. In training, they keep people around who are eager to please, easy to impress, and quick to forgive. Because admiration isn't just a want, it's a daily necessity. Hobby High E, turning help into leverage. Their help, you. But the favor is never free. There's always a subtle IOU attached, and they'll cash it in exactly when it serves them best. I want you to see something most people miss. I want you to notice the invisible strings that pull on people's emotions every single day. Because narcissists, oh, they're not always loud. They're not always obvious. They're not always storming into a room and demanding attention. No. Sometimes they move like smoke, silent, slipping into your life so gently that you don't even realize they've been rearranging the furniture in your mind. See, they have a hidden world, a world made up of small, daily habits that to the untrained eye just look like personality quirks. But to someone who's paying attention, to someone who's educated about the signs, these habits are actually strategies. They're plays in a long game. They're tools to gather energy, attention, and control without you even knowing it's happening. And I need you to understand this because when you see the truth, you stop playing the role they've written for you. When you see the pattern, you stop getting caught in the same trap. When you see the dance, you can step off the floor. Let me paint the picture for you. Imagine someone who never asks for attention, but always gets it. They're standing in the middle of the group, not saying, look at me, but somehow, every conversation bends in their direction. Every story leads back to them. Every compliment, even if it's aimed at someone else, somehow finds a way to land in their lap. It's not magic, it's design. They have trained themselves to feed off praise the way a runner feeds off oxygen. Now, you might be thinking, well, everybody likes compliments. And yes, we do. We're human. Encouragement feels good. But for a narcissist, it's not just a little boost. It's the fuel that keeps their entire engine running. And if the fuel stops flowing, oh, they'll find a new station real quick. They'll adjust their personality, their stories, even their tone, just to get that flow of admiration started again. This is where the hidden world comes in, because these aren't big dramatic actions. They're small, they're subtle, they're daily. They might stand a certain way to look more confident. They might drop little humble brags in conversation, just enough to trigger a, wow, that's impressive, from you. They might give you a compliment first because they've learned the fastest way to get one back is to hand one out. They're not just living life, they're curating it. Every move, every word, every expression is calculated for maximum feedback. And here's the kicker. They can do this in ways that make you feel good. Yes! They can charm you, make you laugh, make you feel inspired, all while secretly feeding off your reaction like it's their daily bread. So you walk away thinking, wow, what a great person. While they walk away thinking, good, I got my fix today. That's why so many people miss it. It doesn't always look toxic. It doesn't always feel harmful. Sometimes it feels flattering. But that's part of the design. Because if you felt used, you'd pull away. If you felt drained, you'd set boundaries. So instead, they keep the exchange just sweet enough to keep you coming back over and over like a moth to a warm light. Now, why am I showing you this hidden world? Because awareness is your greatest defense. When you can spot these subtle habits, when you can see the quiet way someone engineers admiration, you can step back and ask yourself, am I in control of this exchange, or am I being pulled into a pattern? And that, my friend, is how you stop being a background character in someone else's performance and start writing your own script. Now, I could just hand you a list, 8 bullet points, plain black and white facts about narcissistic behavior. You'd read them, nod, and maybe remember 1 or 2. But you wouldn't feel them, you wouldn't see them playing out in your life. You wouldn't recognize them when they show up smiling at your door. So instead, I want to take you there. I want to pull you into the moment so vividly that the next time you meet someone like this, your spirit says, wait a minute, I know this scene. Because that's what storytelling does. It turns concepts into living, breathing experiences. It takes an invisible pattern and paints it in colors so bright, you can't help but remember. Picture this. You're sitting across from someone at lunch. You're excited, sharing a win. Maybe you just got promoted. Maybe your child achieved something wonderful. Maybe you finally finished that marathon you trained for. And as soon as you finish telling your story, they lean in with a smile and say, that's great. You know, something similar happened to me. And just like that, the spotlight shifts. Your joy becomes their story. Your victory turns into their stage. If I just told you narcissists make conversations about themselves, it might land lightly. But when you see yourself at that table, when you hear their voice redirect the conversation, when you feel that little sting of your moment being stolen, now you understand. Now, you're not just learning, you're remembering. Here's another one. You're at a gathering. Everyone's chatting, laughing. You notice how one person seems to move from group to group like they own the air around them. They laugh at just the right moments, tell stories with just enough suspense to make people lean in. And when someone else shares something, they nod, but you notice they're only half listening. Their eyes are scanning the room for the next person to charm. Now, you could have walked right past that without a thought. But when you know the signs, and you felt that dynamic before, you spot it, you can say, oh, that's not just charisma. That's an audition for attention. See, teaching about narcissistic habits isn't about memorizing definitions. It's about recognizing the texture of an interaction. It's about feeling the shift when a conversation stops being an exchange and becomes a performance. It's about noticing how you walk away from certain people energized and from others strangely hollow. When you blend education with story, you're not just handing someone a tool, you're showing them how to wield it. You're not just telling them the stove is hot, you're letting them feel the heat before they burn their hand. And listen, this isn't about making people paranoid or suspicious of everyone they meet. It's about making them aware. Because the truth is, these patterns can hide in plain sight for years. Years where you question yourself instead of the behavior. Years where you try harder to please, not realizing the game is rigged. But when I bring you into the scene, when I let you walk through it with me, something shifts. You're no longer the passive observer in your own life. You become an active interpreter of what's happening around you. You can catch the moment when someone takes the steering wheel of the conversation. You can feel the subtle ways they fish for admiration. And you can decide right there in that moment whether you want to keep feeding that cycle or step out of it. That's why I teach with stories, because facts may touch your mind, but stories reach into your memory, your instincts, your bones. They stay with you long after the list has faded. And when the moment comes, and trust me, it will come, you'll recognize the pattern. Because you've lived it in the safety of a story first. You've got to know this. Awareness without action is like having a map and never leaving the driveway. It's not enough to just spot the pattern. It's not enough to say, oh, I see what they're doing. You have to step into your power and decide what you're going to do with that knowledge. Because the truth is, narcissists thrive in spaces where people doubt themselves. They thrive in silence. They thrive in the pause between you realizing something feels off and you doing something about it. So the moment you recognize one of these weird daily habits, the moment you see them fishing for praise, twisting the conversation, rewriting a story to make themselves the hero, that's your moment. That's the moment you get to choose. Do I play along or do I protect my energy? Do I shrink or do I stand tall? Do I hand them the pen to write my story or do I take it back and write my own? Now, hear me on this. Empowerment doesn't always mean confrontation. You don't have to go swinging into every room, pointing fingers, saying, "You're a narcissist." Sometimes empowerment is quiet. Sometimes it's simply not giving them the reaction they're trying to pull out of you. Sometimes it's keeping your compliments genuine, but measured. Sometimes it's redirecting the conversation back to balance when you feel it tipping too far toward their stage. And sometimes it's distance, not because you're cold, not because you're unforgiving, but because your peace costs too much to rent out to someone else's ego. I remember talking to a woman who said, "Lisa, I finally realized I wasn't being mean by stepping back. I was being healthy." She told me how for years she kept pouring energy into a friendship that left her drained every time. But once she learned to recognize the patterns, once she realized those friendly check-ins were really just fishing trips for attention, she stopped feeling guilty about putting space in between them. She didn't make an announcement. She didn't start a war. She just stopped giving her energy away on demand. And she said the strangest thing happened. She felt lighter. She felt free. That's the power I'm talking about. When you understand these habits, you start to shift from being a passive target to an active chooser. You start guarding your time like it's treasure, because it is. You start protecting your emotions like they're sacred ground, because they are. And let me tell you, you teach people how to treat you by what you allow, by what you engage with, and by what you ignore. When you start showing up differently, some people will adjust and some won't. And that's okay. Not everyone can come with you to your next level. So when you spot these daily behaviors, instead of asking, "Why are they like that?" start asking, "What am I going to do about it?" That's where your power lies. Not in fixing them, but in choosing you. Not in trying to change their nature, but in changing your response. Because here's the truth. When you start showing up empowered, you stop being easy prey for manipulation. You stop getting hooked by the bait of flattery. You stop bending yourself into shapes just to keep someone else comfortable. You begin to stand in the center of your own life, unshaken, unmoved, and unbothered. And trust me, that shift doesn't just protect you. It inspires everyone who's been watching you play small to finally stand tall themselves. When we talk about this, we can't drag the conversation into a dark, heavy place and just leave it there. Because if we only focus on the weight, if we only focus on the manipulation, if we only focus on the what's wrong, you'll walk away feeling drained. And drained people don't take action. Drained people don't set boundaries. Drained people don't protect themselves. They just survive. So we keep the energy high, not fake high, not pretend everything's fine high. I'm talking about the kind of high energy that comes from knowing you have choices, from knowing you have tools, from knowing you can walk into a room with a narcissist and still walk out with your joy intact. I want you to imagine this. You're in a situation where someone is clearly doing that thing, that little dance for attention. And instead of shrinking, you smile inside because you've seen this before. You know the playbook. You're not caught off guard. It's like having the answers to a test before you even sit down. That's where the energy comes from confidence. Because when you don't know what's happening, you're reactive. You're scrambling, trying to make sense of things. But when you do know, when you've learned the signs, when you've practiced your responses, you're proactive, and that's powerful. See, keeping the energy high isn't just about volume in your voice. It's about strength in your spirit. It's about walking tall even when someone's trying to pull you down into their drama. It's about keeping your mind clear so you can respond instead of react. You've got to remember, these daily habits narcissists enjoy are subtle. They creep in through compliments, little competitions, shifting stories. If you match their energy, you get sucked in. But if you rise above their energy, you stay free. Think of it like this. They're fishing. They've got bait. They're waiting for you to bite. With flattery, with outrage, with a desire to prove yourself. But when your energy is high, you don't bite, you smile, you nod, you keep your peace, and you walk away with your dignity intact. Now, let me be real with you. Keeping your energy high is a choice. It doesn't happen automatically. You have to decide every morning, today, I'm the thermostat, not the thermometer. The thermometer just reflects the temperature in the room. The thermostat sets it. That means no matter what energy they bring, you set the tone for your own. You want to know the secret? Gratitude. Boundaries. Self-talk that lifts you higher. Because when you're rooted in gratitude, when you've got clear boundaries, when you're speaking life into yourself all day long, it's a whole lot harder for someone to pull you down. And yes, I want you to be passionate about this. I want you to talk about these patterns with your friends. I want you to share the stories, the lessons, the little moments when you spotted something and didn't get caught in it. Because that's how we normalize awareness. That's how we teach each other that protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's survival. So keep the energy high. Laugh, learn, share. Refuse to let someone else's weird daily hobby become your emotional burden. Hold your head up, hold your joy close, and walk through this world like you know exactly who you are, because you do. So here we are. We've walked through the patterns. We've stepped inside that hidden world. We've looked at it from every angle. The charm, the subtle pulls, the little competitions, the constant search for admiration. And you've seen it now. You can't unsee it. But what I need you to know, deep in your bones, is this: A knowledge is not here to make you bitter. It's here to make you better. Better at protecting your peace. Better at choosing where your time, your energy, and your love go. Better at recognizing when you're in a space that lifts you up versus one that quietly drains you dry. Because there will always be people in this world who operate like this. People whose daily rituals are centered around their own ego. You can't change that, but you can change how you show up around it. You can choose not to get tangled in the strings they pull. You can choose to hold on to your joy like it's gold. You can choose to respond with clarity instead of reacting out of habit. And that choice is where your freedom lives. It's where your self-respect grows. It's where you stop asking, what's wrong with me? And start asking, what's right for me? That's the moment you shift from being a supporting role in their story to being the lead in your own. Maybe as you've listened today, faces have come to mind, people from your past, people in your present. And maybe there's a sting in that recognition because you see now how long you've been playing a part you didn't even audition for. But I want you to hear me, you didn't know then. Now you do. And with that knowing comes the power to move differently. Speak differently, be differently. So let this awareness sit in your spirit, not as a heavy weight, but as a steady light, a light that shows you when someone's fishing for a compliment, a light that warns you when the conversation has turned into a one-way mirror, a light that reminds you that not every invitation to compete, compare, or comply deserves a yes from you. From this point forward, I want you to see yourself as the keeper of your own energy. You get to decide who gets close enough to feel your warmth. You get to decide who earns the privilege of your vulnerability. And you get to decide every single day that your peace will not be a casualty of someone else's daily habits. Because you are not here to be someone's mirror. You are not here to be someone's applause track. You are not here to feed someone's ego at the cost of your own well-being. You are here to live fully, love deeply, and stand firmly in the truth of who you are. And now that you see the game, you'll never play it the same way again. To ask ChatGPT.